I want everyone that was involved in this to be punished to the fullest extent. They had no right to take my daughter away from me.
On November 9th, 2015, at around 9 a.m., a squirrel tracker made a horrifying disclosure in the Talladega National Forest in Brent, Alabama. Attached to a tree was the bare and ruined body of a lady. Police showed up at the scene and sent off a prompt examination. Similarly, as they scrutinized the casualty's character, they got a missing report from Tuscaloosa province for 29-year-old Samantha Payne, who was affirmed as the victim. From the get-go, maybe Samantha was important for a horrifying ritual sacrifice, yet new hints would point investigators in a seriously upsetting outcome. How do you think, was it done as a part of a ritual, or her offenders had other intentions? Greetings at Friday 13 channel, true crime enthusiasts. Join us on this thrilling journey where we explore the intriguing and chilling stories behind real-life criminal cases. Our case today takes us to Tuscaloosa County in western Alabama. It's the fifth most crowded county in the state, with a populace of 227,000, and is known as one of its industrial, educational, and financial centers. Flanked by the Appalachian Mountains and the southern Gulf coastal plain, Tuscaloosa is known for its rich geology and safeguarded wild regions. It's likewise home to the University of Alabama, a top-level establishment and a significant employer. Like most regions of its size, Tuscaloosa area has its reasonable part of wrongdoing. Yet, starting around 2023, it has seen a critical drop in the crime percentage. Nonetheless, in the fall of 2015, Tuscaloosa District stood out as truly newsworthy for a somewhat fearful homicide that left the occupants frightened. At 9 a.m., on Monday, November 9th, 2015, a squirrel tracker named Jeffrey Elliott was clearing his path through the Talladega public woods toward the south of Tuscaloosa County. As he moved toward a thick forested region close to South Sandy Road, he coincidentally found a frightful sight. The exposed, ruined, and headless body of a lady was tied to a tree with barbed wire. Her head was lying around 14 feet from the tree. Distressed, Jeffrey settled on a decision to call to the Tuscaloosa Region Sheriff's Office, and police quickly showed up at the scene. The violence of the crime shocked investigators. The lady's body seemed, by all accounts, to be seriously beaten and disfigured, showing signs of advanced decomposition, to such an extent that specialists realized distinguishing the victim would be troublesome. The body and the cut-off head were taken to the Tuscaloosa County Medical Examiner's office. Specialists brushed the region, expecting to get a handle on the terrible occasion. From the outset, the scene seemed to be a conciliatory ritual made by a sect. Yet the absence of special ritualistic symbols or attributes made agents preclude that hypothesis. A pursuit of the crime location uncovered no hints. There were no tire impressions or apparent drag marks. There were no private possessions close to the body, nor any distinguishing proof records or garments. The absence of proof caused agents to consider another hypothesis, that the casualty had been gone after elsewhere and afterward taken to the woods to be killed. Agents were astounded by the complete absence of measurable proof. Yet while the crime location didn't yield anything, two surprising leads arose back at the sheriff's office. That very day, specialists became aware of a missing report for a 29-year-old neighborhood lady named Samantha Payne. Her mom, Suzanne Payne, last time saw her girl on Friday, October 30th, 2015. Investigators felt that Samantha Payne could be the missing lady. In any case, the remaining parts from the crime location were disintegrated to such an extent that the face couldn't be matched to Samantha's image. The police would need to rely on the coroner's report to check if their casualty was Samantha Payne. Dr. Stephen Dunton played out the examination on the person in question. He attempted to recognize the person the remains belonged to and come up with the specific reason for death. This was halfway because of the disintegration of the remaining parts, yet in addition, because of the broad wounds and abuse the casualty had endured. This included 4 broken ribs and a few slashes with a sharp item all around the skin. Her fingernails and toenails, as well as a few teeth, had been taken out. Nonetheless, the most baffling disclosure was that her inner organs were absent. Dunton couldn't decide whether the casualty's organs were eliminated by her executioner or eaten by wild creatures. Yet, given the manner in which the body had been attached to a tree and executed, it was clear this was a really savage crime. The coroner obtained DNA from the body and sent it to be tried against Samantha's relatives. While Tuscaloosa region specialists hung tight for a positive distinguishing proof, a sheriff's representative from adjoining Hale County brought in to report a fascinating snippet of data. Something like 10 days prior, concerned inhabitants close to the Talladega public woods had revealed a dubious vehicle deserted along South Sandy Road. At the point when the police was heading there to examine, they found a couple strolling along the side of the road and halted to talk with them. The two individuals had distinguished themselves as 27 years old Stephen George and 18 years old Chylli Bruce. They ran out of fuel and had to leave their vehicle. Be that as it may, the police saw their garments were shrouded in blood. He looked through the two individuals and found them conveying a prohibited substance. Stephen and Stu had been captured for drug ownership and were being held at Hale County Prison. On the morning of November 10, 2015, examiners from the Tuscaloosa County Sheriff's Office visited Stephen and Chylli at the Hale County Jail. When inquired as to whether they recognize a lady named Samantha Payne, both affirmed that Samantha was a companion of theirs. Agents then inquired as to whether they had any data about the remaining parts saw in the timberland. In an astonishing turn, both Stephen and Chylli conceded that the body found in the woods was, as a matter of fact, Samantha's. In addition, they likewise admitted to being associated with the experience paving the way to her demise. In any case, they said they were not answerable for killing her. They rather pointed the charging finger at another companion, 31 years old Michael David Belcher. Chylli informed specialists that Michael and Samantha had once been dating, had remained companions after their separation. On Sunday, November 1st, 2015, Michael had chosen to do away with Samantha after she took steps to report him to the police for taking her vehicle. Chylli additionally coordinated specialists towards essential proof by conceding that the vehicle she and Stephen had deserted close to Talladega Public Forest really had a place with Michael. She said the vehicle contained proof to demonstrate his contribution in the homicide. Chylli's assertion gave examiners a beginning stage, however, her enigmatic reactions likewise intended that there was more going on than what she had conceded. Examiners got Stephen and Chylli moved to the Tuscaloosa Sheriff's County Prison, where they were charged for capital homicide and held without bail anticipating further addressing. Michael's vehicle, which was found at Hale County, was likewise moved to the sheriff's office in Tuscaloosa area. After running the vehicle plate number through the framework, agents observed that their suspects were coming clean. The vehicle, to be sure, had a place with Michael Belcher. Specialists likewise pre-arranged themselves for a troublesome undertaking. They needed to let Samantha's family know that their wonderful little girl had been savagely killed. Samantha Christine Payne was brought into the world on October 30th, 1986 in Dallas Province, Alabama. She experienced childhood in a caring family with her parents Roy and Suzanne Payne, two brothers named Stephen and Jonathan, and a sister Katrina. Her family portrayed Samantha as kind and caring.
She was really extra special. She had the best personality. She was always smiling, telling jokes. You know, she was always seeing the brighter side of things.
She took a stab at part-time jobs to help herself through school. She was known to love her companions and was a gift giver. Be that as it may, in her mid-20s, Samantha had fallen in with some unacceptable group and began exploring different avenues regarding crystals. Her family had made a solid attempt to help her quit the propensity. However, Samantha appeared to not be able to separate herself from her questionable new companion circle. Agents talked with the troubled parents about the last day they'd seen her alive. As her mom said, Samantha had left to go to a Halloween party the evening of October 30th, 2015. It was likewise Samantha's 29th birthday celebration that day. Samantha needed to dress as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, however, was anxious about her companions ridiculing her. Suzanne had ameliorated her girl and advised her to proceed to have a good time since it was her birthday. As Samantha went out, her family never envisioned it would be the last time they would see their little girl. In light of the data shared by Chylli and Stephen, a capture warrant was given for Michael Belcher. On November 11, 2015, he was taken in to be interrogated at the Tuscaloosa Area Sheriff's Office. Be that as it may, Michael was uncooperative all along. He denied any information on Samantha's whereabouts and would not respond to any inquiries regarding his association in the homicide. However, it was anything but an impasse yet for the specialists. Stephen and Chylli had previously admitted to seeing Michael perform the main role in Samantha's death, so specialists attempted another point. They offered Stephen and Chylli a plea deal of reduced punishment in court in the event that they consented to affirm against Michael. The two of them concurred. Thus started the chilling retelling of the occasions that had prompted Samantha's homicide. As per Chylli and Stephen, the evening of Halloween, both of them, alongside Michael and Samantha, had proceeded with their medication-filled party long after 12 p.m. and into the following day. They were joined by two more companions, 22 years old Alyssa Watson and 34 years old Marcus George. On the night of November 1st, 2015, every one of them six were smoking prohibited medications at a bike mechanic shop owned by Michael's dad. The gathering frequently hung out at the shop and considered Michael their instigator. At the point when Samantha went to use the washroom, Stephen recommended to the gathering that they take Samantha's vehicle. Stephen took the keys from Samantha's purse and the three men drove off with the vehicle. At the point when Samantha returned, she appeared to be uninterested about the men's non-attendance, and neither did she notice her vehicle was absent. At last, the men returned and they kept smoking. Stephen trusted in Chylli and Alyssa that they'd taken the catalytic converter and battery from Samantha's vehicle prior to setting it land. It was a lot later, when they were going to leave, that Samantha saw her vehicle was missing. However, everybody made a joke of the circumstance. Samantha flew off the handle and restless. Lastly, took steps to call the police on them. Furthermore, that was the second while, as per Chylli, everything changed for the more terrible. Michael realized that it was absolutely impossible that they could recuperate Samantha's vehicle. He likewise knew that on the off chance that Samantha called the police, they'd not exclusively be charged for vehicle burglary, yet in addition for the ownership of prohibited substances. That was when Michael got Samantha and tossed her to the ground. He kicked and punched her until she was draining broadly from the face. The gathering then packaged her into the storage compartment of Michael's vehicle and cruised all over carelessly for quite a long time while Samantha cried in torment. Be that as it may, her evening of enduring was just start. The gathering at last showed up at Michael's home. Before they entered, Michael requested Samantha to strip naked. Compelled to stroll into the house bare before individuals she called her companions, Samantha's embarrassment was terrible. Inside the house, Samantha's wrists and feet were bound utilizing a cable, shoestrings, and a belt. She got through one more round of beating from the gathering, this time going on for a really long time. In a way that would sound natural to Chylli, allowing Samantha to live was impossible. Once more, they put Samantha into the storage compartment of Michael's vehicle and headed to the Talladega public woods, where the last section of this unspeakable savagery would unfurl. Samantha had harmed herself attempting to escape from the storage compartment while being driven, yet the five suspects pushed her back inside and hit her with sticks until she fell quiet. Once at the woodland, they hauled her to the tree. Samantha utilized the remainder of her willpower to scratch Michael's face and get away. Be that as it may, they got her and hit her once more, and attached her to the tree utilizing spiked metal. Chylli related that all through this horrible difficulty, Samantha had beseeched them to stop and had vowed to excuse them and never mention it to anyone, assuming they let her go. Yet, her brutal victimizers disregarded her supplications. Alyssa and Chylli chose to pull off Samantha's fingernails and toenails utilizing a blade to obliterate any DNA proof gathered under her nails from when she'd scratched Michael. The lady went above and beyond and took out a portion of her teeth utilizing forceps. Meanwhile, Samantha kept on letting them know she cherished them and excused them. The gathering then looked as Michael began to cut Samantha on several areas of her body. Subsequent to persevering through long periods of torment, Samantha at last lost everything that is in her. That was when Michael dove the blade into Samantha's neck and cut her throat open. Specialists were upset by the realistic subtleties given by Chylli and Stephen and the long stretches of enduring Samantha had persevered. Still up in the air to get her equity, specialists executed court orders for Michael's home and vehicle. In Michael's home, they found a vehicle battery, comparably Chylli and Stephen had depicted. In Michael's vehicle, they found ladies' dressing stained with blood. Samantha's family gave DNA tests which reasoned that the body found in the timberland was of Samantha. The blood on Chylli and Stephen's garments and the blood on the lady's clothing from Michael's vehicle likewise paired Samantha's blood. On November 13, 2015, the other two suspects, Alyssa and Marcus, were additionally captured. Their assertions matched those given by Chylli and Stephen. Both Alyssa and Marcus were accused of first-degree kidnapping and hung on a $60,000 bond. Samantha's vehicle was found under the Harrisburg Bridge in Bibb County, as Stephen had told specialists. Yet again equipped with the actual proof and the admissions of the four individuals engaged with Samantha's homicide, agents addressed Michael. He kept on denying inclusion, yet it before long turned out to be evident that specialists had sufficient proof to take care of him for homicide. Michael then, at that point, called his mom, purportedly asking her what he ought to do, and she advised him to tell the truth. Michael requested that she care for his cat while he was in prison. Michael was then captured and accused of capital homicide. He was remanded in care without bond. Prior to going to preliminary, specialists and examiners needed to depend on the observer articulations of the four different suspects. Chylli and Stephen had previously consented a plea deal of guilty for a reduced sentence and to affirm against Michael as key onlookers. Michael consented to concede to the homicide in the event that he was allowed a similar plea deal as Stephen. However, examiners denied his solicitation by and large. They believed him should deal with the most elevated repercussion conceivable in Alabama. Alyssa and Marcus kept on announcing their guiltlessness and turned down the supplication bargains presented by examiners. Both were set free from prison subsequent to making their bond. On December 22, 2015, Judge Jim Quinn tracked down reasonable justification to keep Michael Belcher, Chylli Bruce, and Stephen George in prison and have their cases heard before a grand jury.
After hearing graphic details in court about the murder of Samantha Payne, a judge decided there's probable cause to keep the three suspects charged with capital murder in jail.
At a similar hearing, the appointed authority likewise declared that Alyssa Watson and Marcus George's hearings would be heard before a grand jury.
Investigators say Marcus George and Alyssa Watson were also involved. They were both charged with kidnapping for their roles in the murder. This case will now go to a grand jury. No date has been set.
On January 15, 2016, 18-year-old Chylli Bruce confessed to the charge of homicide. She was condemned to 20 years in jail. However, as a feature of the request bargain, she'd be qualified for parole following 5 years. She was likewise requested to take part in the Alabama Restorative Training Office program for drug recovery. The initial two to go being investigated were Alyssa Watson and Marcus George in November 2018. Having turned down the arraignment's request bargains, the two of them argued not liable and professed to have left the woods before Samantha's homicide. Yet their bet didn't pay off. Chylli affirmed that Alyssa and Marcus had been associated with the entire experience. The arraignment gave phone area information as proof that Alyssa and Marcus had been available at the crime location during the homicide. The jury viewed Alyssa and Marcus to be blameworthy of first-degree kidnapping and crime killing. On December 17, 2018, they were each condemned to 30 years in jail on each charge. The Alabama Court of Appeals later cleared the conviction for first-degree capturing yet maintained the long-term sentence for homicide. The groups of Alyssa and Marcus argued for mercy as Alyssa was set to bring forth a child kid and Marcus was a youthful dad whose family required him. Alyssa declined to talk at the preliminary, yet Marcus apologized to Samantha's family and communicated lament for his unfortunate decisions. In any case, Samantha's mom, Suzanne Payne, in her location to the jury, depicted Alyssa and Marcus as two of the coldest and most abhorrent non-human animals and trusted they'd perpetually be spooky by Samantha's voice, asking for kindness. Alyssa and Marcus are as of now carrying out their punishment and are set to be freed in 2048. In March 2019, the preliminaries for Chylli Bruce, Stephen George, and Michael Belcher started with high expectation. Chylli had previously confessed shortly after her capture, and the jury maintained her sentence of 20 years, with parole qualification following 5 years. A couple of days into the preliminary, Stephen conceded to the homicide of Samantha and consented to a request bargain very much like Chylli. He detailed how Michael had killed Samantha and his declaration in court matched Chylli's. Be that as it may, the jury accepted he'd assumed a significant part in Samantha's passing. Stephen was the individual who had recommended taking the vehicle and put the entire wrongdoing into high gear. In this way, notwithstanding the commitment of decreased condemning, the jury viewed Stephen to be unquestionably blameworthy and condemned him to life in jail. He barely got away from capital punishment because of the request bargain. It was then the turn of Michael Belcher. The arraignment introduced their contentions and painted Michael as the instigator of the posse. Given the declarations by Chylli and Stephen, the arraignment contended that Michael had previously planned to kill Samantha after the three men had taken her vehicle. His apprehension about being gotten, powered by his medication-prompted rage, had driven him to finish the young lady in such a vicious way. On April 3, 2019, Judge Brad Ullman condemned Michael to death by deadly infusion on the suggestion of the jury. During his condemning, Michael said he was really upset for what had befallen Samantha. Furthermore, that words couldn't communicate his distress and misery. Notwithstanding, Samantha's mom, Suzanne, didn't really accept that Michael had the option to feel genuine regret for his activities. Chylli will be released waiting on the post-trial process in late 2023, age 26. Stephen remains imprisoned forever, while Michael is waiting for capital punishment at home in jail. Both of Samantha's parents have depicted the deficiency of their little girl as a summer without sun and a winter without snow. They keep on feeling her misfortune each Halloween when her birthday comes around, realizing that was additionally the last time they at any point saw their girl alive. Suzanne has devoted her life to recounting Samantha's story, so her memory won't ever be neglected.
As long as I live, I will never let her be forgotten, and I will tell her story anywhere and everywhere I can.
Our case today features the risks of putting one's confidence in individuals who might not have the best expectations for us. From what loved ones have said about Samantha, she was the sort of individual who couldn't see the terrible side to individuals, and that made her an obvious objective. Eventually, her executioners exploited her own agreeableness and naivete to take her life. So today we ask, do you accept that any of Samantha's executioners have shown genuine regret? Was a fair consequence given to every single charged for the situation? Tell us in the comments underneath. Also, assuming you found the present video intriguing, kindly consider subscribing our channel, hit that like button and share our videos. Until sometime later, remain safe.